Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Comic Conspiracy, episode 6. Hooray.
Yay, Return of the Conspiracy.
Yay. That's excellent. I'm Ryan Higgins,
And
who is
Brock Sager.
Brock.
Sorry, I cut you off.
My co-conspirator, Brock Sager.
Yeah, co-conspirator.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, Brock, we're back for one more episode of The Comic Conspiracy.
I know.
Cool. I think we got some emails. I'm going to read a couple emails here.
Yep.
We got to be the DC horrors again this week, but don't worry, next week we have lots of Marvel to talk about. So next week is going to be our all Marvel, all Thor podcast, I think. Going to see the movie, talk about the recent comics. So if you're a big Marvel fan or Thor fan, next week will be your episode. This week, though, a lot of DC stuff to talk about. Sorry, Marvel. Sorry, Marvel fans.
Why are you apologizing to them?
All three of you.
Oh.
They outnumber us 1,000,000,000 to 1, so it's all right.
It's only because they have the kids.
The kids.
Yeah, the kids. The kids go to Marvel more than they go to DC.
All the adults go to DC.
Yeah.
Is that how it is?
Yeah.
Okay. All the adults go to Vertigo. Ooh, actually, a lot of Vertigo talk this week. So
Yeah, we're DC horse. On with it.
yeah. Well, we got an email from Dave. He wrote a couple episodes ago saying that he had just started reading comics and all that stuff, and was interested in some suggestions. I actually asked him how he got into comics. He said it was a combination of the Geek Box, random article, button on Wikipedia, and the Walking Dead TV series, which, I mean, that's how a lot of people get into comics.
Yeah.
You know, you have the movies, you have the TV shows, you have like Justice League Unlimited or the Batman animated series. A lot of people get into comics that way. And, yeah, that's a perfectly fine way to get in the books. So,
Well, I think also, with all the kids stuff out there, everyone's exposed to comic books at any point in their life. I think it just depends on the severity of the exposure for them to get pulled into the abyss.
well, what I find happens a lot is when you're younger, you may not be exposed to the comic books directly, but the movies, the TV shows, the animated stuff, video games. When you become older, you have the disposable income. You remember, hey, this Batman animated series was pretty cool when I was like 10 years old. Let's check out the comics now. And we talked about this in previous episodes. You know, most comics are written for adults or at least late teenagers these years. So,
Yeah, it actually makes it difficult when people ask me to recommend stuff to kids, because most of the stuff Marvel writes for kids seems to be around the age range of like 5 to 9, 10.
well, Marvel has their all-age stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of and it's not based on they have a couple things based on Superhero Squad, which is their animated series. They've done stuff based on the new Avengers cartoon, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. But most of their kids' books, like DC, it's stuff based on the animated series. But they don't have a ton. DC has a couple, like Tiny Titans is really good. They had that Shazam series. But most of those are just aimed at, regular fans. I read Tiny Titans as much as they are anything else.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, the comics I read were, I mentioned this, I think, on our first or second episode. I was reading Sin City and Hellblazer and Heavy Metal and things like that when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Most kids, you got to deal with it at some point. They're fine. I didn't turn out too bad, I don't think.
You sure about that?
Pretty sure. I'm not a raging mass murderer, to the best of my knowledge.
But you do want to be a vigilante.
Well, be like a Dexter vigilante.
Oh, Jesus.
I know it's your favorite show, but no. That's
Dexter's one of my favorite shows.
That's
not
crazy
the
talk.
favorite show.
I don't have a kill room in the back room here. No, not at all.
And we don't have the space for it.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think are on those long boxes, Brock? Just bodies.
The bodies.
Yeah, that's why they're so heavy. Just bodies upon bodies. People that didn't pick up their subscriptions, they're just all in the back. I killed them all. So I totally didn't do any of that. So don't be afraid. Know what you were saying before I go to jail? Yeah, getting into books later is about when people are going to get into them when they're teenage, later college, out of college, they have the disposable income. That's when most people are going to get into books these days. It's not like always back in the day, pick them up at the spinner rack. Although, I don't think we talked about this. They are adding comics. Barnes & Noble is going heavy into comics, apparently.
Like single issue comics?
Single issues. It's going to be mostly the big titles, the movie stuff, but it sounds like they're going heavy into single issues. There's a kind of a chain store books and movies and CDs called Hastings. Well, we don't have them around here in Northern California, but I guess they went pretty heavy into comics, and it's worked out pretty well for them. So, if Barnes & Noble wants to do comics, I got no problem with that. The goal, hopefully, is people will go there and then find the full-service comic shops later, like us, like neighboring stores. So, I think that'd be the best bet.
Well, I think also with getting into comics now as an adult is a lot easier. There's a lot more to get into. When back in the day it was mainly superhero books.
Right.
You know, now you have Walking Dead, you have...
Ton of Vertigo, ton of independent titles, lots of stuff based on TV shows and movies, which actually is about the next email I'm going to read. A lot of things for the non-superhero fan. And if you're a superhero fan, there's a lot of stuff for you as well. And they're not all written for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
So.
I think the tweens lose out the most.
I mean, I think that's probably where most of it's... Because you start to have some disposable income at that point. Yeah. You start to actually have money. You're out of your parents' house. You know, you're talking to late teenage, early 20s.
That's what tweens.
Isn't tween?
No, a tween is not a teenager and not a kid. It's in between. That's why they call them tweens.
I thought a tween was 20.
No, it's a thing that Disney coined. It's called a tween.
I think you're wrong about this.
No, I worked for Disney. We had to filter content under the... And they had you could sign up for a name, but if you signed up and you were a certain age, you were considered a tween. And a tween was like between the ages of like 11 or like 10 and 12 because you're not yet a teenager.
Oh, 9 to 12.
Yeah, thank you.
Why did I think a tween was between...
No, when you're...
I always assumed it was between a teenager and 20.
No, that's the dead years. That's when you can legally buy porn and cigarettes and vote for your country, but you can't drink.
Why?
And you can die for your country, too.
Why did I always think... Did I not think that? I have no idea. Why did I always think tween was teenage and between, like 18, 19, 20, 21? Like, I thought that was tween. Know. How bizarre. Maybe some of these conversations have not made a lot of sense to other people because I was saying tween and they're like,
what the hell is he talking about?
They're like, why would a 9-year-old be going to a club?
Yeah.
Like,
great.
Okay. Oh, God. I really have to think about this now. I think I've been using that word completely incorrectly.
Well, now we've corrected you.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me finish this email here.
Yeah.
Dave continues. A lot of what he read was on Wikipedia. Sounds like Karen from the Geek Box. Because he read a lot of the plots there, but he felt like he missed out on the art. Yeah, I mean, you can only get so much from Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, it's an overview. It's not the story.
Yeah. When I first opened the Thor trade, I was blown away. I've read some manga before and found the art really boring, but Western comics have a far more appealing art style, at least to me. I mean, I have no problem with manga art. I know some people aren't the biggest fan, but no, I mean, manga art's as diverse as American comics. It's just you have to find the right. Just like American comics, there's a lot of bad manga. Manga artists is a lot manga.
Okay, you're talking about Western comics. You're talking about manga comics because you started that off as, art and comic books, and then you went manga.
Yeah, there's bad American comics. There's bad Eastern comics too. There's bad both. So, I mean, most people, I think, their preference for the American comics is because, and European comics, is more illustrated. I don't know. A lot of manga, to me, the artwork seems more like and maybe animation style, and they're not in color. That's the biggest problem that people seem to have.
I'm one of the people that doesn't side on manga. Right. I don't really like the art style, and I think it's because it's a very simplistic art style.
Well, and this is a very common misconception. There is no such thing as a manga art style, no more than there's such thing as an American art style.
I thought it was the big eyes.
No, it's there are certain things in American comics that everyone does. There are certain things in manga that everyone does.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but a lot of people do. But manga art is very different. There's some tropes and some similarities, but it's no different than, everyone copies Jim Lee or Neil Adams. It's one of those type of things.
Pretty much who they copy.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. The same argument can be made about American comics. I understand the manga style, quote unquote, or the anime style, but it's not really accurate. No more than calling Rob Liefeld the American style.
But that's bad.
Exactly. There's bad on both sides.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, thanks, Dave. Thanks for writing back, and hopefully you find some good comics you like. Brock, you got another email to read there?
Yeah, I got one from Dominic Jack. He's a lapsed comic book fan, and he writes that he doesn't like to try and get into a new series until it's completely finished, which is, understandable. I mean, getting single issues every week or every month is sometimes very daunting. Because he also I guess he also does it because he likes to binge read.
Yeah.
Which binge reading is fun.
Yeah.
But he was wondering about the 100 Bullets series and what's extraordinary, what's good about it, so on and so forth. And if we impress him on this, he's probably going to try and order some from you.
Ooh. It's the best series ever made. You should buy all 10 volumes.
Stop. God.
Or wait, 13, 10? 13? No. How many is there? 13 volumes?
There's 13 volumes.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
I read the first handful of issues and went, oh, this is going to be a good series. I'll wait until I have the entire series to read. And so it's sitting in a box for me to read the rest of it, much like a number of other series, which I shouldn't mention on the air because there are too many. There are too many books where I'm like, that was cool. I'll wait till the entire run's done, then I'll read it all. And the entire run finished, I'm like, I've got 20 other boxes of stuff to read. I'll get to this one day.
You have a collection of shit to read.
Oh, I have 2 collections of shit to read.
That's disgusting.
I have 2 separate. I have my old comic series, like my Legion and JLA and Flash and Avengers and things that I've been putting together over years. And then I have my mid-90s to current, like I have a long box of Hellblazer I haven't read. I have like a full run of 100 Bullets, tons of things like that where I'm like, I bought them all, put them in a box. Oh, I never read them. I mean, I would read a handful of issues here and there. I just didn't get to the whole series,
So you're leaving this all on me now.
It's all on you. This is why I gave you this email to read since you read the whole thing.
Yeah, this is true. 100 Bullets. I actually own the first issue. That was when I was actually back buying comics, but I never read it when it came out.
Yeah.
And then when I came back here, I picked up the trades. The first trade is, especially for me, the gang slang and ebonics that runs through that first trade almost turned me off from the whole series.
Yeah.
It was
I've heard that
really hard to read that first story arc. But once I got past it, it's really entertaining. I mean, there's a couple there was one story in there that won an award. Well, like a single issue that won an award about the jazz thing, I think.
Eisner?
Yeah.
Is it like Fables where the first trade, and like Sandman, where the first trade may not be representative of the whole series?
Yes.
Okay.
So
that's what I got from it, too.
It's really...
I read probably the first 2 trades worth.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, the concept is amazing.
Yeah.
They do move away from the concept later, about, I'd say, halfway through the series of trades. I think that's just because the backstory became more prominent of a story.
Okay.
But I would recommend picking him up. I enjoyed reading him. That was Azzarello.
Azzarello.
Yeah. Brian Azzarello. Yeah, I know. I butcher names. Yeah, really did good work on those. But I highly suggest you pick them up and read them. If you order them from Comics Conspiracy, that's awesome. If you don't, that's less awesome.
Yeah, that's Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo.
Oh yeah, Eduardo Rizzo, the artist.
The Rizzo.
No, he's really good. His art style fit that book.
Oh, he's a fantastic artist. Yeah,
his art style fit that book very, very well.
Yeah. Now they did a run on Batman together right after Jim Lee's Hush run, which was not well received.
Broken City.
Yeah, he's okay.
I didn't read it.
They're actually doing a Flashpoint mini as well. They're doing the Batman Flashpoint mini.
Ooh.
So that could be kind of cool.
Interesting.
Meh.
Okay, next email. Dominic Jack, hopefully you pick up those trades because of what I said and the lack of what Ryan said.
Nope. Let's see. We got one last email here from Dan. He says, I got 2 questions for you to discuss. First, building on Buffy discussion at the end of the last episode, what are your favorite licensed comics or comics about properties that weren't originally comics? I love Thundercats until the art changed. Does that make me a furry? Maybe. Curse you, Chitara. Yes. Also, Thundercats vs. Superman, great crossover or greatest crossover. That is incorrect. The greatest crossover is the Star Trek X-Men crossover that we mentioned earlier. That is the greatest crossover. So that's awesome. You know what?
I'm not a big fan of crossovers.
I love Thundercats when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I loved He-Man when I was a kid. I went back, and those 2 specific I tried to rewatch and get into later, and man, they were terrible.
I couldn't even finish the first volume of He-Man.
I couldn't finish the first episode. I thought Transformers stands up. I think G.I. Joe stands up. I have mad love for Captain N, the Game Master, so that, to me...
if that's on DVD, you need to get me a copy.
I actually... I haven't mentioned this here, but we talked about it on the Geek Box a number of times. A number of years ago, we had a fire in my apartment, and I lost a big collection of my DVDs and CDs and a lot of other stuff. That is the first DVD I rebought after the fire, like a week or 2 after, was Captain N and the N-Team, because I had been waiting for those to come out on DVD for so long, and the only way you could get them online, there was these jackasses that had, they had these great, digital copies. You know, they had taken off the TV, but they wouldn't give it to you to anyone unless you joined like their inner cult circle on this website. And I would always curse them because I'm like, damn, you just give me these damn episodes, because there were all these terrible bootleg copies floating around. So when those came out on DVD, I was so worried they were going to go out of print. So they were the very first things I bought, because I've been looking for those for like 20 years.
Can you still get those?
They're still available, which was surprising. But yeah, I mean, they're cheap. They're $20
I might have to put that on my Amazon wish list.
Yeah, it's a terrible show, but I love it.
Oh, yeah. Kid Icarus and all that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Eggplant guy.
Oh, Eggplant Wizard. He's my favorite.
Eggplant Wizard, yeah.
Yeah. Mega High, Brock.
Oh, great.
Oh, he's my favorite. But, yeah, Thundercats, I just could not. Well, I tried to watch it. I was like, man, this is terrible.
I have a Thundercat story from when I was a kid.
So sorry if you like Thundercats, Dan.
I have a Thundercat story from when
I used to love it when I was a kid. I mean, Thundercats and He-Man were my favorites. Absolutely.
No,
favorites.
I think there's a reason I don't like have people touch my hair or cut my hair.
What?
Because when I was a kid, you've met my brother Lance, right?
Yeah.
And you know we're both redheaded.
Yeah.
Well, my mom took it upon herself one Halloween to dress us up as Lion-O.
Uh-oh.
And she ratted our hair and like hairsprayed it and like pulled it and yanked it with brushes, and it was like so effing painful. And I was like,
so my typical club going out,
basically,
what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I was traumatized from it. And then like coming back and seeing, you know, the comic books and stuff and going, okay, at least it's still alive a little bit. And then they had that Lion-O statue that had the huge dong piece. And I was like seriously tempted to buy it until I looked down and there was this huge crotch on Lion-O. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Jeez, Thundercats. I don't know how far you've fallen.
Thunder.
Jesus.
So yeah, Mo.
Look at license.
Well, let's actually
material.
talk about this for 2 seconds. You know, IDW's done some really good stuff with the Star Trek comics. I've also liked basically all the Marvel and DC Star Trek comics. I thought were really good too. I mean, I haven't read all, but the bits I've read, Dark Horse has done a fantastic job with the Star Wars comics over the last 20 years.
Have you read any of them?
I've read a ton of them. Yeah. I mean, I don't keep up with quite all the current ones, but I pick them up from time to time. And I know, Brock, you just read Dark Empire for the first time. I just read Dark
Empire for the first time.
Which, unless I'm mistaken, is the first licensed Star Wars comic outside the Marvel run. This is Dark Horse's first run.
Yeah, I believe so.
And what if it was a sequel to Return of the Jedi and kind of picks up the plots? And what if, I mean, just one of the best. It's the first and awesome.
It kept the feeling of those first 3 original movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I really enjoyed reading it. Like I actually could hear the music in my head as I was reading it, and I would read all of the little blurb at the beginning that it's supposed to go up, but it never moves.
Yeah. But it looks like
I never read the ending, the last few pages of it, because it's all this text on like what's going on or describing things. Like, well, the funny thing is I was playing. I know we're referencing back to video games. But I was playing Star Wars Force Unleashed, and they have all these holocrons in there, and I'm like, what the hell? Where did this thing come from? And then I read Dark Empire. I was like, oh, that's where it came from. No, I mean, I love Star Wars, and I'd like to try and pick up some of the stuff that's been released in the past few years. I just don't know really where to. That's one of those ones that's exceeding hard to kind of jump in.
There's so many volumes. I mean, I did like the old Rogue Squadron. I'm going to talk about Wedge a few episodes ago. There's a whole book about Wedge and the Rogue Squadron, which that was a cool book. The Droid series were pretty fun. Like I said, I haven't kept up with Legacy and Knights of the Old Republic, a lot of the recent ones, but you know, they got some good creative teams on there, and people seem to like them. And I jump back in every now and again, read a few issues here and there. So.
I think that might be one of the ones I just pick up as a series and say, you know what, I'm going to just read Legacy and pick up the trades and read the trades and stuff. Yeah. You know, Invasion, all that stuff.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. What else is good for
licensed stuff?
G.I. Joe. Yeah, I was never. I mean, I mentioned earlier, like I think the cartoon G.I. Joe kind of stood up, but I'm not a huge fan, so I haven't seen a ton of episodes. I haven't read many of the G.I. Joe comics, but people seem to really, really like them.
Well, they like them enough for them to release the classics.
And IDW has done a good job with those recently and reissuing some of the Marvel ones. IDW is also doing Transformers, and they're sort of hit or miss, but I have like some of them. Dreamwave Comics did a bunch of Transformers from Pat Lee, and that guy's kind of a weirdo, but I know they sold fantastically well. I don't know, the reception was sort of mixed from what I hear, but I have like the IDW ones. What are some of the good ones? I know it's been running for a long time is the Sonic the Hedgehog from Archie. A lot of people like that. It's not just kids, too. I mean, I know it has some really hardcore fans. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Mark Miller's first work was the UK Sonic the Hedgehog comic.
Ooh, Mark Miller fans, go pick up that issue.
It's actually really hard to find and really expensive.
And burn it. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was mean. No, actually, back to G.I. Joe. I'm looking forward to reading Hearts and Minds, because that was written by Max Brooks.
Oh, right. I know you like Max Brooks.
I'm waiting for the trade on that one, though. Or the softcover on that one. Other licensed material?
IDW has a ton of licensed books. Dynamite has a ton. Those are the two big companies that do licensed stuff right now. So I would check those guys out.
Who does all the horror stuff?
IDW.
IDW does?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Avatar was doing
Avatar has like a Nightmare Before Christmas. Friday
the 13th.
Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. But they haven't done much
in a while.
The Dynamite Army of Darkness comic was pretty fun for the first couple volumes, but it gets really dumb after a while. So I would avoid that. I'm a huge Army of Darkness fan, a Bruce Campbell fan, and it's like I just couldn't deal with it after a while.
Yeah.
Dark Horse still has Conan. Those are real popular. Red Sonja, Dynamite does Red Sonja. Those are real popular. There's so many licensed books out there. So many that, they're fun though.
Yeah.
They're cool if you like the original properties.
Well, Dark Horse did really well with Aliens.
Oh, you're right. Our Dark Horse did Aliens, Predator, and Terminator. Yeah. Those are pretty popular. Not so much recently. They've done a couple minis here and there, but
it's the movie tie-in minis, so it's kind of
crappy.
Yeah.
Highly recommend the original Alien vs. Predator miniseries by Chris Claremont, if I'm not mistaken. That was back very early 90s. Yeah. I don't think there's a trade in print. It's probably in one of the Alien omnibuses, but I would check out the original Aliens vs. Predator. I believe it's a 12-issue miniseries. You could probably find them cheap in the back issue mint and stuff, too. So, check those out, too.
Cool.
I think we are done for emails for right now.
News. If you missed the news, you're snoozing.
If you snooze,
I don't know.
Yeah. No one knows, bro.
So the big news this week, and who is toting it more than anybody else, you said on the internet?
Well, since we are the Fox News of podcasts about comics, I think we should take Fox News' most popular news story this week when it comes to comics, probably their only news story this week when it comes to comics, and that is Action Comics 900. Superman has decided that he no longer wants to be an American citizen. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
People are losing their goddamn minds over this. The internet is all a Twitter. The Twitter is all a Twitter.
You mean there's a lot of tweets coming on this?
Republicans are losing their mind over Superman abandoning
their cause?
Yeah, I guess, abandoning the United States. So it's now truth, justice, and the earthly way. I don't know. I thought this was something that DC had actually done back in the 80s, or like he never, when they rebooted it during Man of Steel, like Superman was not an American citizen. I mean, Clark Kent, I believe, because his parents, Mom, Pa Kent, I mean, they did get like a I don't know what the current origin is, but I want to say that they were still able to get like a birth certificate for Clark Kent, so he's still like a legal citizen.
Yeah, don't confuse yourself with the Smallville origin.
How did they say he was like his sister, his wife's
something? I don't know.
Mother's sister.
God, that was like what? How many seasons ago?
Yeah, 9 seasons ago. Ooh, we're gonna have to have an all Smallville episode.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, I guess I'll talk for an hour then about Smallville.
Oh yeah, okay. And I'm gonna sit here and let you spoil the whole season for me.
No, the whole show.
The whole show? I haven't even watched the last season.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Watch it. You got like 3 weeks.
How am I going to get it in 3 weeks?
Just sit home and watch a couple episodes every night.
On what?
I don't know. I'm sure they're on demand or something.
Oh, yeah. I have on demand?
I don't know. Download them off the internet like everyone else does. Come on, bro. Get with the illegal 21st century here. Come on. Really. It's not that hard. Hulu. I'm sure they're all on
whatever.
Hulu.
Anyway, back to...
Anyway, yeah, so...
You told me this earlier, and honestly, the first thing that flashed in my head was Superman was an American citizen?
Yeah, that was sort of my thing, too. I don't even know... post Infinite Crisis, DC's like New Earth is what they're calling like the continuity now. To the best of my knowledge, this has never been brought up. It's never. I mean, this is such a non-issue, but of course, people want to make it this big issue. I mean, it's news because people are making it news. It's not actually news. It was a kind of a weird throwaway backup story, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to renounce my American citizenship. I'm a Superman's of the world," and which exactly he should
exactly
be.
what it should be.
Yeah.
Truth, justice, in the earthly way. That's fine by me.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. From a personal point of view, not to get too political here or anything like that.
Uh-oh.
No. But I
comics
feel
and politics.
I feel something like this. I fully believe what he says in the story. The Earth is getting really small. I believe in aliens and all that sort of crazy crap. In my mind, if aliens really existed, the leaders of the free world would not want people to know because that would suddenly make Earth a very small place.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't avoid it in something like the DC universe.
Well, yeah.
But, it wouldn't be just, America versus Mexico versus Canada versus Venezuela versus Libya, versus whatever.
Dude, stop reading the soccer playoffs list.
What?
The matchups in the soccer
I mean, I'm
games
just
this
going
weekend.
by bordering countries. It would be Earth versus other alien planet,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and all the borders of the world would go away. And this is sort of what I kind of see Superman saying in the stories. He's like, look, I'm not an American citizen. I am a citizen of the world, which is exactly right. I mean,
But how does he manage that? If Superman isn't an American citizen, but Clark Kent is.
all right, well, they're not the same person.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I didn't even know. Well, I mean, they're the same person physically, but Clark Kent and Superman are two different.
Can you have
people.
a secret identity that has a different citizenship? I guess you could, because spies do.
Superheroes shouldn't have a citizenship. This is my problem with this entire argument
yeah.
is that does Power Girl pay taxes? I mean, how does this work? The people. I mean, there's no money going to Spider-Man. I mean, there've been so many stories where they're like, "Here you go, Spider-Man. Here's a check for $10 million, but you can't make it out to Spider-Man because Spider-Man he's not a person. He doesn't have a bank account or a social security number. So take off your mask and tell us who you are. Oh, you're not going to do that? We keep the money." I mean, there have been so many stories like this. This is such a non-issue. So whatever. And it's not like, the characters, the Superman doesn't get royalties on the dolls, the Superman doll sold in the DC universe. So it's not like he's making money on this. So
Royalties, Superman. It's a touchy subject.
Oh, yeah, well, it will be next year. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just headline grabbing bullshit, and it's a non-issue. We shouldn't even be talking about it on this podcast, but whatever. It's fine.
It's really the only news.
Yeah, there's been no news this week.
So we're talking about like oh God, I'm trying to sound smart, and it's just gonna fail it.
It's fine. I can edit this all out.
Yeah, okay. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it is just stupid.
I'm like, it's news to have news.
Yeah.
Which is just dumb.
Slow news day. They gotta find something to yell about.
Today they did it today.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay.
I mean, we hit Wednesday. I think between Wednesday and yesterday. Today is Friday is when we record. So.
Yes, everything today is the royal wedding.
Ooh.
Did you wake up and watch it?
All I woke up and I saw a seemingly inappropriate picture of her bent down underneath like this railing, and you just see him standing there, but she's like bending over to pick something up, but it just looks very inappropriate. That's the only thing I've seen.
I need to see this.
That's the first and only thing I've seen.
You need to share this image with me on the internet.
I don't. Who are they? I'm assuming they're English.
It's Prince William and Kate.
John and Kate +8.
No,
Kate?
this is no.
Kate
no.
Beckinsale?
Whoa. Oh no.
Kate
no.
Beckinsale?
This is Kate.
Kate from Lost.
Commoner.
Kate from Lost.
No, it's some common.
Kate.
Commoner.
Kate. Do I know another Kate? I think those are the only 3 Kates on Earth. So.
Well, this is now, I guess, Princess Kate.
Ooh. Is it a Disney thing or?
No, it's the English.
Oh, okay.
Remember Charles and Diana when we were kids?
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, never mind. Anyway.
Were they in the comics or something? There actually is a marriage comic, so I didn't order that. All right, enough stupid Superman.
We talked about the royal brightest day. Now let's talk about the brightest day, or at least stuff in the brightest day.
Yes, we have the 2 big books this week. And Thor came out this week. We'll have a lot of Thor talk next week. The Mighty Thor #1. I mean, there's some other big stuff we'll talk about, but 2 big DC books ended this week.
Spoiler alert
Well, kind of.
for this one.
I don't want to talk about what actually, like, the major ending of Brightest Day. I don't want to talk about the various, like, what the status quo of all of these characters are. I'm not too worried about that yet because we don't know anything. And same with the Generation Lost. I just want to talk about the very last page on both books.
Okay.
So I don't want to talk about Firestorm and all his crap and Aquaman.
Dead
read
man
the book.
getting...
Yeah, read the book for all that stuff. I just want to talk about the last page on both books. Right.
Okay.
Brock's showing me the last page on Generation
Okay,
Lost right
so
now.
the last page on Justice League Generation Lost is Booster Gold talking with Batman.
All right.
And they're looking at a big monitor that says Justice League International.
This is very ironic because Brock has recently started reading Justice League International for the first time. So the end of Generation Lost is they're bringing the League back together. Once more, formerly known as the Justice League International.
This is actually the other Batman and the Outsiders.
Yeah. I think I have a feeling that's why they're ending the Outsiders. Is because it's going to be
they're going to pull some of the characters into
Justice League International.
But are they going to halfway through Justice League International change it to Outsiders and then change it back to Justice League Europe afterwards?
God, I hope not. So, Brightest Day, which has been one of the big books going on from DC this year, they had a number of spin-off books. They relaunched a number of titles in the wake of Brightest Day, or in the wake of the start of Brightest Day. And one of the books, its companion book was Brightest Day Generation Lost, which was bringing back the original Justice League International, which is now currently only Booster Gold, the new Blue Beetle,
the
Fire,
Ice, Captain Atom, and
the new Rocket Red.
The new Rocket Red, because it's not the same.
Right, because the original guy died.
Yeah.
So these characters are back trying to find Maxwell Lord, who was their original benefactor back in the 80s, who became a bad guy
who shot the original Blue Beetle.
Well, the third Blue Beetle.
Ted Cord.
Right, Ted Cord.
The Booster Gold and Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle. Right. So
the ambiguously gay duo, yes.
Second Blue Beetle. I'm sorry, not third. So this is the Blue Beetle everyone knows, except for Jaime Reyes, the new Blue Beetle. Ooh, I guess a lot of people know him too. So the second Blue Beetle, the middle one. So
second suitor.
Nice.
I know. He'll be coming soon.
Yeah. What?
I quoted Mallrats.
Yes.
My son, who is coming any time now, is named Brody.
The second suitor?
The second suitor.
Oh.
No, actually, you've hit it on the nail. I mean, this Generation Lost, reading this is what kind of got me to go for reading the Justice League International stuff.
Yeah.
And because the story was really, really good. It's Maxwell Lord basically mind wipes the entire world except for the Justice League International.
Right.
And it's them trying to get to Maxwell Lord before he can do whatever it is he's going to do.
Right.
And it's an awesome ride.
Yeah.
So awesome, I'm debating the hardcover, softcover
they're nice. They're cool.
decision.
Well, the last page of the last issue is Batman's getting the band back together, and he's reforming the Justice League International. There's going to be a new monthly series, I assume, written by Judd Winnick, because he wrote Justice League Generation Lost. I could be wrong, but I believe it'll be Judd Winnick. People have been asking for these characters to come back for years. And there was actually a rumor on Bleeding Cool today that there's going to be another Justice League title, which is based on the Batman Beyond animated Justice League, which is going to be a second title for Batman Beyond. And there's been a long-standing rumor, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast yet, I probably have, where...
This one or Geekbox?
Oh, no, I think on this one. Where after Final Crisis, they were supposed to launch a new Justice League title. That didn't happen. It was going to be... Because for the first time, we would have had Barry Allen and Hal Jordan both back.
Yeah.
So after, the end of everything, we now have Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Well, Wonder Woman's not quite back yet, but she's mostly back. Barry Allen, Hal Jordan, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. The original 7 JLA members are all back in continuity for the first time in forever. So, since Crisis on Infinite Earths.
So, Johns and Lee, get on it and give us that Justice League book.
This is the rumor that I've heard for years. Jeff Johns and Jim Lee on a JLA title, #1 book by 1 billion copies. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to be so disappointed. But I have a feeling, with those 7 characters being the main focal point of Flashpoint, the end of Flashpoint is going to be those 7 characters forming the Justice League, not of America, the Justice League.
Yes, because
Superman
renouncing his American citizenship.
That
yes.
superheroes are not of America, they're of the world, of the universe, of the galaxy, whatever. Then you have Justice League of America, which is the grown-up Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And then you have Justice League International, which are the Justice League International characters, the side characters. And then you have Justice League, you have the Future Justice League, which is from Batman Beyond. This is exactly what Marvel did with the Avengers. It's the same sort of idea. And oh, look, what's coming in 2013? The Justice League movie.
Yeah.
So, it's all lining up, baby. It's humming. It's gonna happen. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. Jeff Johns, Jim Lee, JLA, you heard it here first. I've been saying this for like 2 years. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to feel really stupid because I thought it was going to happen
If it doesn't happen, we're going to do a video podcast where people can email in the ridiculous stunts they want you to perform. It'll be the Comic Conspiracy Jackass video podcast.
I have been talking about this since like Final Crisis. I'm like, it's going to happen after Final Crisis. Barry's back. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Hal's back. I know it's going to happen. And it didn't happen.
Because you didn't wait. Because Aquaman wasn't back and Martian Manhunter was dead.
We knew they were coming back.
You didn't know they were coming back.
But now, well, you did because they were at the beginning of Brad Meltzer's JLA run. Do you remember this? They were in
that's right.
There's like this weird like page where they're like, oh, it's not time yet. So I know it's going to happen.
You know what? You know what it is? You know why they've built this up so long?
Why?
I'll bet you money.
They just knew I knew about
and
this.
This is only a quarter,
okay.
by the way, because I'm broke.
Okay. That's because you work in a comic book store.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I'll bet you money that the only reason that this is taking so long is to make sure that Jim Lee finishes the artwork.
That's exactly what I think it is.
Before the story comes out?
If Jim has like 24 issues in the can, working on it for a couple years, it doesn't need to be like a super in-continuity title. It's just like, look, it's the Big 7. Here's 2 years worth of Jim Lee artwork. Yes, this is exactly why I think it's taking so long.
Yeah.
You know, there's actually something else too, which I mean, if I'm going for this long shot, I got another long shot for you.
Shit.
We could talk about this later in another episode when I actually have read up more on the history. Well, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. We have to talk about this after Brightest Day, not after Generation Lost. Sorry. Let's wipe this.
So the last page. I'm flipping to it now.
Well. Generation Lost, new Justice League International title. It's
awesome.
Actually happening.
Read the old
stuff.
Wait.
Read the old stuff.
Read Generation Lost.
It's great.
Don't buy the hardcover, buy the softcover, because I'm going to buy that hardcover before you.
Well, they only did a few hardcovers. The rest are all soft. They've stopped the hardcovers.
For Generation Lost?
I thought you were talking about Justice League International.
No.
Yeah, Generation Lost.
That's my debate. Do I want Generation Lost in hardcover, or do I want it in soft?
I don't know.
Okay, so the end of Brightest Day, which is actually supposedly the beginning.
All right, so again, ton of stuff happens in Brightest Day. Don't want to go into the main plot. Don't want to spoil any of the final fates of any of the characters or anything like that. But as we talked about a couple episodes ago, Swamp Thing, who is a Vertigo character who's now returned to the DC Universe, a lot of stuff happens with him.
You know how hard it is to do this shit when you don't want to?
Well, but if you bring back Swamp Thing, there's another character you have to bring back. And
Bollocks.
Who's that character?
Bollocks.
His name is not Bollocks.
I know, but
what's
Bollocks.
his name?
His name is John Constantine.
Hellblazer,
which I just this week finished reading.
Brock,
the first trade.
Just started reading old Hellblazer. It's like, Brock,
I finished Swamp Thing.
Read Animal Man so they can bring Animal Man back into the comics.
Do you want me to read New Warriors?
Please read the original New Warriors so Fabian Nicieza and Mark Bailey come back and do the original run. Please. Thank you, Brock. Thank you.
What is it with me and reading stuff that's coming back?
I don't know. It's great timing.
Yeah.
So with Hellblazer back, with Swamp Thing back, now we have John Constantine back in the DC universe. Hellblazer's been the longest running Vertigo comic. It's run since the mid 80s, mid-ish late 80s. They're up to they're coming on 300 issues.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw a back issue was like 270 something.
Yeah, they're coming on 300 issues in the next year or two. DC said we are going to leave Hellblazer alone as Hellblazer. It's not going to do anything, but we're bringing this character, John Constantine, back into the DC universe. He's an important part of Swamp Thing history. We want him in the main book as well. And this is fantastic because I understand DC's theory of a kid will read Superman and then we'll read Swamp Thing featuring Superman and then read Swamp Thing and there's a bunch of nudity and gore and graphic intense situations. And I mean, you don't want that. But the reality of the world is that it's not too many kids reading comics these days. It's kind of on the parents at this point.
Well, it's the adults.
And comics aren't we talked about comics going back to Barnes & Noble, so it's going to be a little bit more, but they're not as accessible as they used to be. They're not on spinner racks everywhere. You don't have a ton of Walmarts and Targets and 7-Elevens complaining. It's like they're in specialty bookshops. It's where people, this is fine. John Constantine's an adult character. Bring him in, written by adults, for adults. I mean, that's fine.
No. Sorry. Not adult. Mature. Remember,
mature.
Saying
Correct.
Adult in comic books
means pornographic.
Means pornographic, and you have furries effing other furies. Fucking other furies.
What the hell? So
I don't know. I just wanted to swear.
We are not going to see Superman in a Hellblazer comic, but
we're going to see John Constantine in a Superman
comic, and that is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, that's not a problem.
It's pulling the character. It's pulling the character in the right direction instead of the wrong direction.
Correct.
That's like you said.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing. They see Swamp Thing, and there's Superman on the cover. They're going to get Swamp Thing and be exposed to something that they're not necessarily supposed to be exposed to.
Right.
But if you bring Swamp Thing into Superman's world,
right,
and John Constantine into Superman's world, then you can control what they see. The only problem is if they turn and like that character, then they're going to jump on that book like two rabbits going at it.
Right. So, John Constantine being back in the DC universe, I mean, at this point, it's done. The floodgates are open. We have Madame Xanadu. We can bring, Sandman has shown up a few times.
Madame Xanadu's back in.
Right. I mean, she's been back in. We've had Sandman in a number of DC books. Daniel appeared briefly in
Strength in Numbers in JLA.
In Grant Morrison's JLA, plus JSA. He appeared very briefly when when his father died. So he was in like 2 panels. So Daniel's great. I love the White Sandman. He's cool. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll see more of the Vertigo characters popping through. I mean, Animal Man's been back for a while. Doom Patrol's been back for a long time.
Well, you have,
Shade the Changing Man's coming back in Flashpoint.
He is?
He's going to be in the George Perez. I don't remember is it Peter Milligan's writing that? But he's going to be in a Flashpoint miniseries.
Who is Shade the Changing Man?
He's an old Jack Kirby creation.
But what is his?
He has like a weird. He was in Suicide Squad, and he's been in a couple other books, but he's got this weird like secondary body thing that comes over. I've actually never read the Vertigo series. So
it looks whack.
It is whack.
Like reading the first trade of Sandman, the first trade of Hellblazer, the Swamp Thing stuff. That art style, God, it's so hard to read when you're not stoned. But Shade the Changing Man, I couldn't fathom reading that stuff not stoned.
It seems really cool, and I have them all.
Oh, jeez.
It's in my stack of stuff to read.
It's in your stack, in your collection of stuff to read.
It is.
Not your stack.
I get to them.
Stop calling it a stack. Stop trying to make it this thing you can control. It's a collection.
Yeah, it's a collection of crazy crap I have. But yeah, so John Constantine coming back. And the reason I want to talk about this, one of the main focal points in Generation Lost, this is going to be a spoiler for about halfway through the series on Generation Lost, so keep that in mind if you're listening to this. Maxwell Lord actually gets Magog killed. Is about 2/3 of the way through the story there. So Magog was a character that first appeared in Kingdom Come, which was a future, like a what-if future DC book. Mm-hmm. And they brought into continuity in Justice Society of America a few years ago, all points leading to the actual Kingdom Come universe, this whole future world, written by Mark Waid, art by Alex Ross, where The regular superheroes kind of left. All these punk kids took over, and there was mass destruction. It's a giant war of the superheroes. All that was started by Magog. So Maxwell Lord's whole thing for Brightest Day was he was commanded by the White Lantern to stop the war by killing Magog.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not... We didn't know this for a big part of the series, but this is sort of his reason for having been brought back. Since the Kingdom Come future is now no longer the future of New Earth, of the DC Universe, and they've brought John Constantine back, I have a high suspicion that they're actually going to use Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes for the future of the DC Universe. Now, Brock, you give me that look. Very few people know what Twilight of the Superheroes is. This is a pitch by Alan Moore back in 87. Mm-hmm. It was to be a sequel of Crisis on Infinite Earths about the future of the DC Universe. John Constantine was a major character and he was sort of the everyman, the guy that the audience follows through the story. I'll go into a bit of the story here. I actually need to reread through the plot because I haven't read it in such a long time. There's a number of different houses within the DC universe. There's like the House of Shazam, the House of El, the House of Batman, and there's all these different. It's like this warring faction between all the different superhero sort of quote unquote families in the DC universe. I have absolutely no reason to believe this. Alan Moore hates DC and will never work for him again. I have no idea if DC actually owns the rights to this pitch or anything. But bringing Grant Morrison, and Alan Moore, so similar. Bringing John Constantine back into the DC universe and removing Kingdom Come as the future of the DC universe, to me, there's a slight possibility, that we may see this Twilight of the Superheroes, whether it's actually by Alan Moore, which is highly unlikely, or adapted from Alan Moore's original pitch. I think it's a slight possibility.
Well, you do realize that the House of Batman has already started.
Oh, I mean, the House of the Batman Incorporated and all that. Yeah.
And Flash has already have Flash. Everybody's back.
All the Flashes
are back.
One of the things DC has done recently is this huge legacy. I mean, most of the Kryptonians are dead after War for New Krypton. But
what happens with Superwoman?
There's still a bunch left. Yeah, Superwoman's back.
Yeah, and Supergirl's back.
All right, Supergirl's around, yeah.
So...
There is talk of a new Shazam series. So I wonder if we're going to get a new Shazam series after Flashpoint. Aquaman, there's a new Aquaman book coming up by Jeff Johns. So we're going to see the rebuilding of the Aquaman universe.
Wait, Johns is writing that one too?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I believe we'll see a new Hawkman series.
Good.
Well, basically, every major character in Brightest Day has to get their own book because there's tons of plots left open. So they have to be either just in follow-up titles or in a new title of the character. So,
maybe it's the New 52.
This is my guess. I'm going to say Twilight of the Superheroes, new book, gonna happen next couple of years. This is my second, totally out of left field call. I'm gonna look back at this episode in like a year and be like, man, was I an idiot? What the hell's wrong with me? Why did I even think these things? But I think it's a possibility.
But you have to remember that we are. I mean, you can somewhat see what's going on with what's in front of you, but there is a twist.
What's that twist?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Right? When we saw Brightest Day, what was the twist? Right? We bring all these characters back that we haven't seen in a while, but what's the twist?
I called Swamp Thing about halfway through the series.
And why did you call that?
Well, there was a number of stories of a proposed Swamp Thing series for Vertigo being canceled. There was talk of DC saying, hey, we're going to bring the Vertigo characters back in. And specifically around, I want to say it was like 17 or 18. I don't remember which issue number. There was a reference of the Elementals.
And the Green.
I don't know if they said the Green specifically, but there was Swamp Thing-like talk. And so I kind of was like...
The Parliament of the Trees?
No, they definitely didn't say that because that's a dead giveaway. I don't remember what the conversation was. I'll have to go back and look. But there was talk, and I was like, this sounds like Swamp Thing's coming back. And now, Constantine, I didn't see that. I didn't see that until like a few days before when a bunch of the rumor sites were like, oh, yeah, some of the guys have said, yeah, Constantine's coming back. And I was like, okay. But even then, I didn't expect to see it in the end of Brightest Day.
But just so you guys know, I want to make sure that we're staying in touch with this. The page before the last page, John John Constantine lights a cigarette
Ooh.
and smokes it.
And
then he's smoking at the end of it.
I kind of laughed at that after Tucker Marvel's No Smoking. Yeah, I wonder if that... Well, I mean, it's John Constantine. Of course he smokes. That'd be like Wolverine and Nick Fury and the Thing not smoking. Oops. Stupid Marvel.
Wow. You have a lot of predictions.
I do. I should go to Vegas and lose all my money because I can never call it. Yeah. I can call it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you can.
These are far calls. I mean, this is very unlikely. But John Constantine, major player in the DC universe. Last time this has been anything like this was Twilight of the Superheroes pitch in '87. I know it's going far back. But it's Alan Moore. If Alan Moore's like, I'm totally done, and DC's like, fuck it, we're just going to pull every Alan Moore project we have in the vault and use them all because he doesn't give a crap. He's not going to come back. We pissed him off royally. What's it matter?
Now, how do they piss him off again?
It's all the rights to Watchmen. There's talk of Watchmen 2. It's basically all the rights because he doesn't own Watchmen.
Okay.
Watchmen's owned by DC because the contract. I mean, there's all sorts of weird legal stuff. I don't know the whole story, but basically, as long as Watchmen's in print, he doesn't get the rights back, and it's never going to leave print because there was no such thing as trade paperbacks when Watchmen came out. There were very few and far between, and nothing stayed in print.
Yeah.
So he expected it to be in print for a year, then that's it. No, look, it's been in print for 25 years and sold millions of copies, and he doesn't own the rights to it. So, I mean, he gets his name taken off all the movies and all that. So it's like, Alan Moore doesn't want anything to do with American comics. That's fine. New League of Extraordinary Gentlemen's in the new previews.
Which one?
New League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, 1969.
You know, I've never read that.
It's
Alan Moore.
The art. I don't care. The art's fine. I like it. It fits for the style.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. It's very Vertigo-like art. Very, very quirky. Yeah, it's not typical art at all. Well, I guess that will be it for all of our random comic talk this week. Brock, Justice League Generation Lost, brightest day. Any last words? I got one shout out before we go out, but
dude, you completely missed the random comic pick of the week.
Oh, that's right. Well, before the random comic pick of the week, I got one thing here. We've a friend of the stores who his name is Navin. He's going to school right now. He's going to college. I was San Francisco State, I believe. I don't remember which college is. One of the San Francisco colleges. He's actually doing a market report on us, the comic book store, Comics Conspiracy. If you can go to forums.geekbox.net. In the comic book forum, there's a link. There's a thread called Comic Book Survey. There's a link in that. If you can take that survey, he's trying to find out people's kind of their age and income and readership and discounts. And he's kind of curious about a couple of different things. This is actually a school project for him, and then he proposes it to the store, so it's something that will help myself as well as him in his school project. So you can also go on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan, and I linked it on there as well. Please go and fill this out. This episode will go up Monday. I think he would like to get the results by Friday. That's sort of when his last, kind of when he has to have a lot of it done. So
that's when his collecting is over.
Yeah, so if you can, in the next couple of days, try to do this.
It's a good thing you actually explained this, because I saw that forum post, but I thought it was spam.
Oh. No. Yeah, he's doing a school project. So I told him I'd help him out, college project. So I told him I'd help him out with this. So if you listen to this podcast, go check out that survey and hopefully get some, give him some help. So that's kind of neat. Random comic pick of the week. God, you always throw this on me, Brock.
Hey, just don't feel bad. This week, I am not prepared.
Okay, cool.
So, random comic pick of the week is going to be Fly by the Seat of My Pants.
Okay, I think I went first last time, so that means you get to go first this
Damn you!
I actually
for
do
remembering that shit.
Yeah. I can edit out any long pauses here as we collect our thoughts. So take your time.
Collecting thoughts. You know what? I'm going to go for a random comic read that's not a comic book.
You're fired.
It's Peter and Max by Bill Willingham, the novelization of a story from the Fables universe about the Pied Piper kind of world. It's not necessarily. It has ties to Fables with certain characters in the beginning,
sure,
but it is a very good read and a very solid story in a novel, and I highly recommend. You can read it without reading Fables, and it's really, really good.
You think it would make sense?
It does. It ties in around the war.
Okay.
But it's not really anything.
Because I haven't read it, so.
There's not. I mean, they kind of hint to the Beast and Snow White and stuff, but it's only in the beginning, and the rest of the story is kind of this story about Peter and Max.
Okay.
So you don't need to read Fables to know what it is. And
Okay.
Wikipedia what Fables is, and then read the book if you want.
Sure.
But yeah, I would suggest Peter and Max
Cool.
by Bill Willingham.
Good.
It's got some little pictures in it.
The softcover version came out too, right?
Softcover version came out. I own the hardcover.
Yeah.
But the softcover is...
La-di-da.
I've got the softcover here. I didn't go over to Barnes & Noble and buy a book. I bought it from you.
They probably wouldn't carry it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll carry
No, actually
books.
they do.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
That's
They
cool.
carry Fables.
Is it in the comic section or is it in the fiction section?
I think it's in the fiction section,
That's
but,
cool.
you know, if I was in the bookstore and working there, it'd be in both sections.
It's not in the ghetto comic section that's completely disorganized and
completely
random.
disorganized. That thing looks like somebody anally raped it twice.
God. Yeah. The comic sections of Barnes & Nobles and Borders are always fucking atrocious.
Why did you mention Borders? It's pretty much over.
Well, I mean, it was. I mean, the Borders here is still around.
The Sunnyvale one is still here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
I
still
thought
here.
they were closing that one.
Nope. I don't believe so.
I thought that was on the chopping block.
No, not the Sunnyvale one.
Okay.
I mean, there's the Borders, man. It's like the Barnes & Noble ones aren't as bad as the Borders ones. The Border ones were always terrible, just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But the Barnes & Noble ones are
They at least keep that table nice.
yeah.
The section looks like shit, but the table's nice. So your random comic pick of the week.
God, random. What's sitting right in front of me here? Let me look at the wall. What do I? Should I just?
The problem is you haven't read.
I read a ton of comics actually.
You did?
on Thursday and yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I read through a ton of Brightest. I read through all of Generation Lost. Well, not all, but the last handful of Generation Lost. I read a bunch of comics, but they're all books from like 6 months ago. So, yeah. Actually, in getting ready for next week's Thor episode, I figure I'll get a little Marvel love here. I actually do want to recommend J. Michael Straczynski's run on Thor. There's
The current volume?
No, the current volume just started, and the regular volume turned into Journey into Mystery. I'm talking J. Michael Straczynski relaunched Thor a handful of years ago. There were three softcover volumes out. There were hardcover volumes. I don't believe there's like one big collection of all of them. I think there's just the 3 soft covers. I'll be real honest up front. It doesn't end well because he leaves the book basically during it, like when a crossover starts, and he just kind of ends the story in the middle. They end one of the major plots, but it's like, it's Thor. It's the stories have to keep going on. A little slow burn at first, but it's only 3 volumes, and it wraps up a plot point well. Very cool book, great art. As Oliver, I'm totally butchering his name here. It's Oliver Copiel. I'm sorry, thank you, Brock. I was thinking of someone else. Yeah, Oliver Copiel. Very nice art. So. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that run on Thor.
Yeah,
it was nice to kind of get back into it. But Straczynski failed again to do a single issue series. So, but I mean, it's good stuff. Definitely worth reading. Definitely worth.
I would read
up.
those 3 volumes. I think those 3 volumes are totally worth it. Really good stuff. So, and then we will have a lot of Thor talk next week. Brock, any last words before we go out here?
If you like us, please like us on iTunes.
Oh, yes.
And if you want to talk comics, go to forums.geekbox.net and talk about this podcast and talk about comics. You can check out Conspirator Brock blogspot.com. Yeah, .blogspot.com, yeah.
That's
site. My blog where you can get more information on my random comic pick and my poll list for every week.
And your very helpful Green Lantern list, which I've now used like 1,000 times to link to people. So
you're welcome.
So, yeah.
I think somebody actually bought a whole bunch of stuff off of that, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
if you want to hit me up, on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan. You can hit us up through email, thecomicconspiracy@geekbox.net. You can send us an email through the contact form on the Comic Conspiracy as well, or on the Geekbox as well, and comicsconspiracy.biz, B-I-Z. You can hit us up there as well. That's for the store. The Geekbox forum and the main site has had a bunch of downtime recently.
Yeah, what is up with that?
It's the service provider. They suck. Ryan Scott's trying to get it figured out. it'll get figured out in the next few weeks. He may switch servers, so if it goes down, it comes back up. That's why. He's trying to get it worked out with them because it just keeps having problems.
You know what it is?
What?
He pissed somebody off on about that PlayStation Network hack thing, so they're hacking him now.
Okay. The same people hacking Sony's hacking him.
And I can't believe we forgot because it's next weekend.
Oh, Free Comic Book Day.
But it's Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, it's really soon. Man,
head down
Day.
Head down to your local comic book store and pick up some free comics.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week, but yeah, Free Comic Book Day is coming up this May 7th, which is Saturday. Head down to your local comic shop. Bunch of free comics. We'll have a bunch of random crap. Free hero clicks. There's a bunch of cool stuff. It's always fun. Some stores have sales, signings. We're not really having anything this year, just free books. Personally, at the store here, we're doing 5 free comics. 5 free comics with a purchase.
5 more.
Or 5 more free comics with a purchase. And then 5 more free comics if you bring in our ad that's either in the San Jose Mercury News or the San Jose Metro, which is one of the local papers. So if you see our ad in there, cut it out, bring it in. 5 more free comics. 15 free comics. All you got to do is buy a button or a
button
or an omnibus for $100, and you get 15 free comics. What a deal! What a steal!
Honestly, for people out there, because I know we've gotten a lot of emails about what to read. Free Comic Book Day is a really great way to come into a comic book store, browse through some things, and pick up something and try it out.
Yeah, just sample a few titles, see what you like. I think we mentioned this in the last episode too, but if you like a title, go back to your store and say, hey, I like this comic from Free Comic Book Day. Can you make sure I get one? Because so many of the Free Comic Book Day books, I don't even order the regular books on because they're not stuff we would normally carry. And a lot of times I wouldn't even get the Free Comic Book Day. But if, let people know in advance if you see these books in previews, if you see them listed on the company website, request them from your local shop because there are books in there like they don't publish any actual physical print comics. So I'm not going to order the Free Comic Book Day if it's something I can't later stock.
Yeah.
So, the type of special order, a lot of shops will do it for you. So just let us know if there's anything you need.
Mm-hmm. And get kids into comics that way.
Yeah.
There will be kids comics.
It's almost all really kid-friendly. Most of the books are kid-friendly.
Well, you never get any of the adult, which is random that they have free adult comics.
There's no free adult comics.
There isn't anymore?
No, they never has been.
They never had them?
I mean, they'll have like Fathom and Aspen will have some free comics, and you'll get some like more mature, like we were saying earlier.
So
but
mature.
I've never seen a free Comic Book Day adult book. So
yeah, because man, the porn industry's hurting with the internet.
Yeah,
I think we're good.
I think we're good too, Brock.
You've tried to end this podcast 3 times.
Yeah, we're the Return of the King of podcasts. 12 endings.
12 endings.
Okay, we are going to go. We will see you next Thor Thor channel.
I'm gonna bring in my hammer.
Yeah, and
smack you down.
I guess we'll see you post Thor. So be prepared for that. We'll see you guys next week.
Come on, guy, end this shit.
And we're done.